Welcome to the Virtual Velo Podcast powered by the Zimmunique. We are exercise and physical therapists, performance coaches, and live stream broadcasting pioneers, but most of all, we're passionate about cycling and immersed in the virtual cycling community. Our goal is to inform, inspire, and challenge you. Come take a conversational ride with us. Hello, everybody. We've got a good crew with us today, our regulars. Joy, how have things been going for you?
Fantastic.
Good. We understand you did the rim to rim to rim.
And it's all
Can you
your
tell us a
wife's,
little bit about that?
well, it's your wife's fault for starters.
Okay.
She was the one that gave me the idea. And it went, you know what? It went great. It went great. Everybody finished. It was a long day, but it was amazing. We really, with everything that happened, I would say, end of the day, we got lucky with weather, with no one getting injured, with everyone finishing, considering there was a hurricane in Florida, and so it was an exciting week.
What is the rim to rim to rim?
Okay, so the rim to rim to rim is you can start at the north end or south end of the Grand Canyon. We started at the south end and started on the South Kaibab Trail, went hiked up to the north rim, and then back down and back up the south rim via the Bright Angel Trail. So it's about 48 miles
Wow.
with like
I can
12,000 feet of elevation total.
right, and that's each direction, right?
Correct. Yeah, because we parked, at the south end, so we had to get back to our car. People, apparently, not too many people go, do the double crossing in one day. A lot of people go from one end to the other. They'll do just south to north or north to south, but that takes more logistics. In my
Okay.
opinion, it's just easier to just park on the south rim and go back. Just turn
Okay,
around
so
and go back.
there was no stopping, you just kept going.
I mean, there were stopping, sure.
Oh, well,
We-
yeah, but they're not an overnight, like
no
you didn't.
overnight. No.
Yeah,
We
gotcha.
finished. Well, there was a big group of us, so some people finished at 9 p.m. and then the other group finished somewhere between 1 and 1:30 a.m.
Got it. And how many were in your group?
There was 7 of us. So 6 from Florida. 6 of us fled the hurricane in Florida, which was a crazy process in itself. But then we had a friend that lives out in Phoenix and joined up with him who had done it before. So he was kind of our guide to really kind of give us, pointers and make sure that we had, knew the little things that to know going into it.
Well, Joy, that sounds like an experience of a lifetime. And we also have Nathan Guerra with us. And Nathan, you are not even in the United States right now.
No, last minute decision to head down to Brazil. First time ever in the country. I was gonna do Iceman. We made a little joke last week, and I was like, "Well, I guess I have to forego Iceman." And Gabriella says, "Well, it's fine. You can come see the Firewoman instead." So that's what we're doing.
What is the Fire Woman?
Well, no other than Gabriella Schumann. That's
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's great.
Liz will be very familiar with her, I would think, at least in pedaling, so and virtually.
Very nice. Well, I hope you're enjoying your stay down there, and I hope you're getting some delicious taste of Brazil. I'm sure the food down there is excellent, and the weather's nice.
Literally have like a gigantic steak waiting, like the steakhouses are like the thing nonstop being talked about, and how many I have to visit. And then like last night, the pizza here is not like our pizza. Like I don't even know how to explain. You just have to look at my Instagram. Like literally, they have like sweet pizzas, like pizzas that are covered in chocolate and what is that dulce something, or I don't like I mean just every kind of sweet you could put on it is on this pizza. And then the savory side was like covered in steak and cheddar cheese. And
Whoa.
I mean, they are definitely interesting. They're wild. They're Brazilian pizzas. They're wild.
Yeah.
They're very wild.
Yes, but are they good?
They're very good. Very,
Okay.
very good. But you also need to do a lot of riding while you're here.
That's great. Um, cool. Well, everything's been going well for me. I've got my last mountain bike race of the year coming up on Sunday and excited about doing that. I also just ordered the Wahoo Kicker bike, so real
Oh,
excited about that.
congrats.
Yeah, it's on sale. So I've
Cool.
been
I have
wanting
one of
one of
those.
those. Yeah, I've wanted one for a really long time and the price was finally right. Sort of. Still expensive, but way cheaper than it usually is. So they're clearing inventory, I suppose, for their version 2.
Ken, do you
And
want to tell us about the mountain bike race that you did in, I don't know, pajamas or man
oh
pants?
yes, the Dad Bod
Dad
Invitational.
pod, yeah.
That is a downhill segment that these guys built called the Dad Bod. And Misfit Mountain is like a local mountain bike apparel company, and they make silly videos every year for Christmas and stuff. And they're a great group of guys. And this is their third year of inviting a bunch of people. Well, not a bunch. I guess there was 17 of us that raced, and then there's a crowd. Everybody's drinking beer and watching this downhill run, and I'm doing it on my little 100 mil XC mountain bike. And I had my Dad Bod pajamas, which are like a silky material, real nice, real soft.
But how was
And
it biking
So
in
am I.
those?
it was not great biking in them. Yeah, I wouldn't, fortunately, I hiked them up to my rib cage to keep them out of the drivetrain, and just tucked in my
My
Dad
question
Bod shirt.
was, did you have bibs on underneath?
I did not have bibs on, but I did have a pair of mountain bike shorts. So
Well, your
Yeah.
daughter
it
must have been
was-
very proud, Ken.
Yeah, so she was at a swim meet lighting it up, so she's killing it with swim team. And so I did the swim team meets are all 2 days long. I did Saturday, my wife did Sunday. We divided and conquered, so that worked out pretty well.
Good for you.
And Chris, how have you been doing?
Actually, been doing okay. Trying to live my best semi-retired life. I got Road CC to pick up one of my articles, and I was pretty psyched about that because they don't do much in the way of virtual cycling, so that was cool. And I Cycling Weekly picked up my hand cycle article, and I was really proud of that because I feel great for the adaptive athletes on Zwift and that they're getting represented, and I feel like I played a tiny little part in that. So I'm pretty cool. But the big news is, and Ken, I'm pretty sure that you might be aware of this. If not, I'm going to be the first one to tell you. My team won the ZRL
Ooh,
Atlantic Open B1 champs.
very nice.
But it
Which
was
is your
cool
team?
because
What's the name of your team? Dirt OG?
the Dirt OGs. You're not familiar with them?
No, I'm familiar. I wasn't invited, which is weird since I'm a Dirt
Yeah.
OG and all.
Yeah, I don't think that was the only criteria. No, only kidding.
Oh, you got to be fast also. My bad.
Well, I guess it's not all about winning, but anyway, the guys held it down for me because I was still recovering and trying to build up from my ride across the country, and then I was able to contribute towards the end, which
Cool.
was pretty cool. But speaking of building up since the summer, it'd be a great time to introduce our guest because she has been lighting it up since the summer. So Ken, take it away.
Sure. We have our first repeat guest on the podcast. We have Liz Van Houweling with us today. She's been doing great in the Zwift Academy, one of the finalists, and she's got some other accomplishments that have happened since the last time on our podcast. So, Liz, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, it is great to have you back. And we want to hear all about your adventures since I guess it's been last November? Is that right, Chris?
Well, it was after the World Champs that we spoke to Liz last, but
Okay.
I got to visit Liz. My route across the country actually took me right to her town, so I visited her on day 36 of my adventure. I'd ridden 2,500 miles and climbed a lot of feet before then, and we were able to visit the Van Houweling compound. It's beautiful, really beautiful.
Very nice.
So it was in a really nice part of Iowa, and I got to meet her husband, her husband Ryan is a great guy. But I felt bad for him. He was recovering from a motorbike accident of his own.
Ooh.
And Liz has two really beautiful young children, and my wife just ate them up. It was a nice little diversion for her after hanging out with two old grumpy guys for a month. So that was cool. Thanks for having us, Liz.
Yeah, it's so good to meet you.
We pulled up with the Schwank tank, the 30-foot RV, and parked it in her driveway. Her driveway is like a mile long. She's got a pond in the back, and a lake for when the pond isn't enough. It was really beautiful.
Very nice. Very nice. So, Liz, what have you been up to since you were last on the podcast? We caught up with you shortly after the World Championships.
Yeah, this past summer I wanted to do more in real life racing, but I always come up with life excuses. So I didn't actually race outside at all, which I'm a little sad about, but I rode outside when I could and just for training and did a lot of really nice gravel riding, getting up early and seeing the sunrise. It was good to learn to appreciate riding slowly outside again. So I felt like that was just like a huge mental highlight for me over the summer. And then I just did a lot of Zwift racing still. It's always a strange time in the summer with not as many people. So it was fun to do some smaller races that you could actually try different tactics. And I'm not winning most A races with men, but if there were only 5 or 10 people, if I got lucky, depending on the field, it was fun to just like actually be competitive in some of them. And then Nathan started a lot of the Wednesday World stuff in the summer, so there was also some big races with super high quality fields. So I still got in a lot of really really hard fast races. So yeah, over the summer I just did lots of racing on Zwift and riding easy outside. My new philosophy is intensity inside, only easy outside.
Nice.
So that's what I did all summer.
It's actually a really good strategy, and one that, well, as of recently, I've been doing just the opposite, which is on the Monday through Friday, just riding easy, trying to work on some other fitness goals, and then going outside and riding really hard on my mountain bike on the weekends.
Well, you know, the a lot of people see Liz and know she's been ranked number one since the summer, and they don't really know that she does have a pretty incredible outdoor career. And one huge highlight was the 21 USA Cross Nats, which when we spoke last, that had already occurred, and we didn't know anything about it. But I'm really interested. Tell us about the experience, Liz.
Yeah, it was a last minute decision to go. I felt like Zwift prepares you well for cyclocross racing for the fitness side of it. So I just decided last minute to go. It was in Chicago, which was only 5 hours away. And I did the Masters race, and yeah, I got the whole shot, built up a 30-second plus lead, and then just slowly started to freeze inside and out, and my brain and my body basically were shutting down. And then yeah, I got caught, rode the last lap with the girl, and then got out sprinted by a tire width at the finish line and got second, and actually ended up with frostbite that took about 6 months to recover from.
Really?
So that maybe contributed a bit to my lack of enthusiasm for racing outside this past year. But it was still an incredible experience, and I'd love to, when the stars align, try to go get a Stars and Stripes jersey. It is still a huge goal in my life.
So if I have the dates right, that means that you were climbing up that final climb during the Esports World Championship with frostbite in your feet.
Yeah, it was awful. The standing high power efforts hurt super bad, I think, because your toes were getting smashed towards the front of your shoes. So it wasn't until I kind of quit training for that as hard, I think, and let my toes actually recover that they started to get better by about May.
It's pretty amazing, and you are the best U.S. finisher as well.
So it took how long for you to recover from frostbite?
Like 6 months.
And I had no idea you ever had that. And it's just sore toes.
That's all mine was. And they were like, yeah, discolored. And I could hardly walk after I rode my bike sometimes because the shoes aggravated it so much riding.
Well, Liz, I'm glad that you've made a full recovery, or mostly a full recovery from frostbite. So, what was the timeline? What month did that take place in um, proportion to the, or in relation to the e-cycling World Championships?
So the Cross Nationals was early December, and then Esports Worlds was late February.
Okay, gotcha. And then after the esports world, what was the next event for you? Was that when you just were doing a lot of the outdoor riding, and then um, the the occasional Zwift race inside, like more unstructured?
Yeah, I did the next ZRL season with the men's A or mixed A team. I felt like after Worlds, I'd lost a lot of that high end power, so I went to go back to mixed racing more to try to get that back. So I did that until May, and then it got nice outside. So yeah, then I just rode outside and Zwift raced inside, and probably overdid the indoor Zwift racing a little bit much over the summer when it was beautiful out.
Yeah, no, it's really easy to do. And how would you split that up? Like, for me, it's more practical to ride on Zwift on the weekdays and then get out on the weekend.
Yeah, it depends on my work schedule, my kids' schedule, my husband's schedule. We just have to work around it. In general, I would ride outside early mornings on the weekends when I could. So if I wanted to do like an easy recovery ride, if I didn't have early morning appointments, I finally bought a bright headlight so I can leave the house by 5:36, as long as it's just an hour and a half at the most to get back for the kids waking up. So early mornings or weekends, and that was still early mornings because you still are busy on the weekends.
No, I can definitely understand that. Did you get it to do a bunch of mountain biking?
Not too much. You have to drive to get to the mountain bike
Mm,
trails from here, so it's just more of a production. We did take a trip to Colorado, my husband and kids, and that was actually where Ryan broke his ankle
ugh,
on the motorcycle. But we did get to do quite a bit of fun mountain biking together out there. And then once he broke his ankle, I got to ride it by myself, so that was fun, riding in new places, navigating, hoping I don't crash.
nice. So, um, what exactly happened, and how is he now?
Yeah, he was on a dual sport motorcycle when he probably should have been on a dirt bike, so it was a little heavier. And then he was off on the single track because he's a mountain biker, and he
Mm,
probably should have been on like the forest roads. And then there was a bunch of down trees in front, and he braked hard and slid his rear tire,
oof,
and his foot was backwards, and then the motorcycle fell on his foot.
ouch.
But he's doing better now.
Okay,
He's not back to running, but he's ridden and even clipped in on a bike, so
nice.
he's doing better.
Yeah, he was hobbling around when we were at the house, and I guess that was the middle of the summer, so you were already. I think you might have been ranked number one at that time, Liz. You were doing a lot of racing with the mixed men's fields and getting a lot of ranking points. And like I know that towards the end of the summer, when you were doing all the testing for the Zwift Grand Prix and things, you ran into a little bit of a kind of a rocky transition there. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I did all that racing, and then I kind of got burnt out on racing and decided I was going to take the month of September off. And I knew we were going to have all the Grand Prix stuff coming up, so I wanted to just get in the right mental state for that. And so we got the new rules stated that we had to ride trainers that were stated as 1% accuracy, and the ones that the Sarah Snowpins team had, the H3s, were 2%. So we got a new H4 trainer, which met the criteria, and then had to do all of our ZADA testing and everything on that. And then when we all got them, a lot of people started having problems, and some people's were okay, some people's were moderate, some were really bad. So I kept thinking I just had to like ride it longer and break it in. Um, and it was pretty stressful for a time. I even got just a completely different one from Matt Gardner because he lives in town here, and got an extra shipment of like 10 more H4s. So I did all the ZADA testing on one of them, and it was really bad. And then a week later, went and got another one and did all the ZADA testing again on that one. And that one seems pretty close. If I like actually warmed up for 25 minutes and did some efforts and calibrated it, it seemed like it was reasonable. And I felt mostly confident enough. I don't usually warm up, so it was really annoying to have to do that every time. But I felt like if I followed these steps and it was going to be okay to race in the races that I had to do it. I was switching back and forth between the H4 and the H3 still, because for the other stuff, I didn't want to have to warm up that long. But yeah, so I was just a lot of trainer switching, and then yeah, rode the H4 for the first Grand Prix race and got my results annulled because they said I had a trainer malfunction. So there were a few times that the power spiked on the trainer that was a lot higher than what my cork read. And then it also goes to 0 a lot more often. So the numbers weren't like that far off, but there were a few instances that the trainer spikes really high and then it almost overcompensates to go low. So your average for like 5 to 15 seconds isn't much different, but there might be an initial 1 second spike that is significantly higher on the H4. So then I got rid of that after I got annulled, and I did have a kicker that I originally bought before I joined Sarah Snowpins. So I got to do ZADA again on the kicker, and I have been riding that since for everything. So no more trainer hopping.
I can imagine doing the ZADA test once. Like I try to avoid it at all costs. I have to do it 2 times, and then I have a feeling that the Zwift Academy is more of that same kind of testing. So you had your fill of that testing, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so during this whole time, I also wanted to do Zwift Academy. So take a break from racing, like don't stress out about anything, and just do the workouts. I thought it would be super, not really relaxing, but a good different challenge for me. And then all the trainers were reading differently, so I was like trying to figure out what my FTP was supposed to be for each trainer I was doing too. So yeah, it's been a lot. I rode 4 different trainers during the whole Zwift Academy month of September experience.
So Liz, I have a question. As an athlete, for myself, I get really frustrated with all of that. It sounds like a very frustrating experience. Don't you just wish you could just use your cork?
I do. I very much do.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I mean, I just want a plain answer like that, probably, but because I mean, for me as well, I just like I have 2 corks at home. They both read super well. I have one on my mountain bike, one on my road, and it's like there's how do I say this? I was talking to somebody about it a few days ago, and their response was, I think it was Dave. It was actually Dave Toll. He was like, yeah, that's just what cork does. That's all they do. They just make a power meter. So it works well. Like, and trainer companies, I mean, they need to do power, resistance, and they have this whole thing going on in order to get power, but it still isn't a strain gauge direct power meter. And the way that we have our current, this is all my opinion, but the way we are currently building our verification systems around what might not be the highest level of technology around measuring power just seems really odd to me. I'm just wondering what you think about that, Liz. But from your experience here, because you just went through a really difficult, frustrating experience because of the way that this is being built up.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, obviously we all want fair racing, and dual recording makes sense. I don't know what people do, but I'm told people still find ways around that. And I understand different power meters probably read differently too, but it's also trainer companies can just say that their trainer reads within 1% accuracy. So I think that rule is a bit strange to me, because who's to say what 1% accuracy is really? And yeah, it's just been, I mean, all of the hoops you have to jump through to try to race at the elite level. Sometimes it just makes you wonder if it's all worth it.
I can see that, but my question is, why can't you use an external power meter? Why can't you use a cork as your source of truth?
You have to do both. So the trainer has to be primary, and then you have to have another power meter as your secondary, and they are supposed to line up close enough
Okay.
that they believe that you're doing what you're doing.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
So the husband and wife team, Nathan, you'll know how to pronounce that last name, Bjarhid. They're out of Sweden.
Yeah, Jahi. Yeah,
Right. They just did.
I know them.
Yeah, the two of them just did a research paper on the veracity of power meters, and they actually published it to an esports journal. And it's pretty interesting because they like did the statistics for all the trainers, and they all were in with a fairly decent standard of deviation. But the one comment that they did make is that there really is no standardization from one company to the other. They can make whatever claim they want because they're only really judging themselves against themselves. So it's like a wild west when you come to the trainers. There's really like no like set standard for what the accuracy really is. So it's kind of like you're making athletes adhere to a really arbitrary definition of what accuracy should be, and it leads to problems like you guys are experiencing.
And then the other thing is there's no standard for what Zwift puts forth for what's acceptable and what's not. So it's not like they say if your power meter reads within 5% of your trainer or within 3%, or for this duration it has to read within this percent and this duration. So we don't even know what's gonna get you in trouble and what's not, basically.
Yeah, it's difficult. I'm sure it is. The conspiracy theorists in me reached out to Matt Gardner, who you mentioned earlier, when the guys pulled out, and I'm like, it's got to be more than you just want to spend time with your family, because these aren't new families; you've had them forever. So, and I'm being flip about this. Of course, that's the number one priority. But when you look back at all the issues that the ladies are having, perhaps the guys saw that coming, and if they did and pulled out, it makes you think that maybe they should have cued you guys in also. But that's a podcast for a different time. But so you got your stuff with the Zwift Grand Prix worked out, and you've been killing it. And I'm really interested in getting a feel for what you think of the different race formats and how you feel as an individual racer racing in a team.
It's different. That is what I will say. I have not really enjoyed the super long aspect of it. The last race we did, it was 2 hours from the start to finish, and I raced less than 15 minutes during that. So as a racer with 2 little kids, what am I supposed to do the whole time? And then how do you keep your energy levels and your enthusiasm for racing that high that long? And then it's tough to even like watch your teammates the whole time, because I have other things to deal with, like if I'm not racing. So I like that they're trying to change it up. I feel like there's still a lot of work to be done to make it more friendly for fans too. I don't know that they want to sit there and watch for 2 hours when the racing, when it is happening, is super exciting. I think it's just a little bit too long. So I think the formats still need changing a little bit to just keep the fans engaged and the racers themselves engaged. And I also think I like that more people are contributing to the points. You have to have a very well-rounded team to do well, but we're also not racing as a team, and so you don't get to use your team's strength. It's more your team, the individuals on your team and how strong they are, not the team strength as a whole. So I wish that we could kind of combine that a little bit more too, to really feel like it's team racing.
Yeah, it's almost as if you're racing as a team, but you're an individual racing as a team. So you're not actually working with somebody, but your points are going towards the team. It's kind of it's like a weird dynamic, and I could see how it would be difficult for you because it is very isolating.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the Zwift Grand Prix is obviously, very exciting, but the biggest topic of news that's exciting in your life as far as esports racing is being named a finalist for the Zwift Academy. First of all, I'm super psyched and proud of you. It's an incredible accomplishment. But I know that it comes with a whole host of other questions and things that we certainly want to ask you about. But the first thing I want to do to start it all off is when did you make the decision and why to throw your hat into the ring for the academy?
about a week before it started, I just decided I raced so much and so hard all summer, and it was so fun. But I could just tell mentally and physically I needed a break from that. And I don't make myself do structured workouts ever. I've literally never done a structured workout on Zwift before. And so I thought that this was a good way to force myself to add some more structure into my life, and then just hopefully mentally check out from the race scene for a while before the Grand Prix started again. And I knew I wanted to do well in that.
You might not, Coach Liz, you might have wanted to keep that that one detail to yourself.
Do as I say, not as I do.
There you go.
And I had read that you made a in the Zwift article that you made a difficult decision to forego racing in the Zwift Racing League season. And was this just what was really the driver behind that? Like the fatigue, the stress of it, or not being able to focus on specific weaknesses?
Yeah, I was just doing too much on Zwift, and I knew that couldn't do everything. I love everything about it, and I want to do everything. And we got our H4s a week before ZADA was due, so I had to get all of that testing done right when Zwift Academy was starting. I did my whoosh racing on Sundays, so every Sunday I was trying to race, and Zwift Academy or ZRL was on Tuesdays, and then Grand Prix was going to be starting on Fridays. So, and then there's like 2 to 3 workouts for Zwift Academy every week. And my legs don't have all of that in me as much as I wish they did. And I was already coming in with a huge amount of fatigue. So I just knew I had to cut out something. And I also found out that our ZRL team had to race a Division 1 for A's last season. We got to do 2, and that was still fun. But I was a little afraid that Division 1 for A's was just going to be me hanging on, trying to not die the whole time and not be quite as fun as the Division 2 stuff was. And I did actually do one of the ZRL races at the end of the season after Zwift Academy was over with them. And it was fine, but I don't regret not doing the entire season because it was just hanging on. Definitely not going for points on that.
With all this pressure, Liz, that you're talking about, does the pressure help motivate you, or do you think it bogs you down and stresses you out?
Different days I'll give different answers, but in general I would say I don't like pressure, and it is a little bit much for me to endure at times.
So with that, also in making the decision to do the Zwift Academy, are you coaching yourself, or do you have a coach that helps you make this decision?
I'm still coaching myself. I talk with Lee Wild a decent amount about Zwift racing, but at this point I just am trying to.
I know a little bit about this and Lee coaching you, and I'm pretty fascinated by it because Lee is technically not a coach, but has been very successful helping you. So I find how fascinating that is, that it works so well for you.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's like a typical coach relationship. He was better at the gaming side of Zwift when I was still learning. So initially he helped me a lot with that. And then the sprinting part, I was bad at sprinting. So like a couple of summers ago, he really worked with me on sprinting on Zwift. But I still am a bike racer at heart, and I know as a coach, I know what I should be doing. So it's just a different dynamic than, it's not like he's telling me what to do every day, but sometimes it helps to have a person to talk things through and mentally get it in a better place.
So then, getting back to the whole academy, what was your main motivation? Like, did you want to just see if you could qualify? Do you want to be a pro on the road? What is what's the bottom line, Liz?
Well, I never in a million years thought I'd get picked for a finalist. So, I mean, like I said before, I mostly just wanted a good excuse to make myself not race. I felt like I had to do something else, or I was just going to get tempted into every race. And yeah, I haven't road raced in a very long time, and I have 2 little kids. I live in the US. I have to be realistic about what I can do, as far as road racing goes, especially. But it's also cool to I'm fitter than I've ever been in my life from Zwift racing. I'm better than I was when I used to race on the road and outside and everything. So I think it's just going to be a cool experience to see what that fitness really is and how it translates to the road and to other people that are kind of going through the same process.
Well, really is a tremendous opportunity, and I I really hope that it is everything that you want it to be. And if you got that pro contract, that'd be great too. See, one of the things that I was curious about is like, what is the qualification to be a finalist? Is there a standard there? We spoke about standards. Does anyone know what it takes to become one of the 5 finalists?
No, I have no idea. They just along the way they kind of let me know that I was still in the running to be it, so I had to send additional information, more verification, more information about me, basically. So I think like twice throughout the month I did that, and then they wanted to schedule, like, set an interview for me, and so I thought I was going to have to answer questions and probably tell them that I'm not an idiot and can ride my bike outside, was what I was thinking. And then it wasn't an interview, it was just a call to tell me that I had been selected as a finalist.
That must have been incredible.
When you were going through Zwift Academy, which I've not done this in many years, it was a mix of structured workouts and group rides and races. What did you enjoy about that? What were the difficulties with that? And of course, like, they're doing these races at different times, and that's another thing about the black box of how you qualify. How are they comparing the racers that win this race at this time and that race at another time? Anyway, just your insight on the actual rides themselves associated with Zwift Academy.
Yeah, so they actually, I have never paid attention to it before this year, so I think it was different this year than it has been in the past. But we did no races against each other. We did a baseline test on Legends and Lava with a VO2 max, a sprint, and a threshold, the volcano climb. So we did that at the beginning. You just go hard from the segments, and you can go as easy as you want in between. And then we do that same thing at the end. So those are the only like course rides that you do that you have to sign up for a time, but they have them like every hour for ever and ever. So it was easy to pick a time to do that. And then the rest of them are just workouts. So there were 6 structured workouts that you do, and you had to pick like the long version of it. So they try to make it more accessible to more people. So there are short versions of things too. So to be considered for the pro contract, you had to do the long version of those. And then there were 2 additional workouts that were more testing, I would say, than workouts, but it told you what to do, and you would have the trainer on erg mode, and then it would shoot it into free ride. So you had to do kind of testing efforts where you had to shift for those 2 additional workouts.
Did you hit any personal best?
No. I actually, my 1 minutes were very good, but this whole time I'm also dealing with 4 different trainers and God knows what else. So I was just floundering the whole month. I felt like trying to get through everything, but my 1 minutes were actually really good. I did a 9.5 watt per kilogram 1 minute. One of the pro contender contract ones. But then it was just like, do I trust this data and everything? So it was a bit of a stressful time, but what I did like about it was that it wasn't the race time. So since it was just workouts, you could do them whenever you wanted. So it was nice to get up and drink however much coffee I wanted for however long and not be like, okay, at this time I have to be on my bike. So it was nice that I could just do them by myself, not talk to anyone, not deal with anything else in my basement.
Didn't a lot of people have trouble with the first set, like they had to do them over.
Yeah.
Also, wasn't it like that was like a whole thing?
The first baseline, that was another thing. I forgot about that. If you tried to do the baseline test on the first day, they had the workout as banded. And so it was pulling people back. So everyone's time was like relatively close up each of the each of the segments. So if you wanted to do the pro contender one, you had to redo it. And I actually started one of those baseline rides, and I was coming in with so much fatigue. I went like 20 seconds up the first segment, and I said, screw this, I quit, I'm too tired, I'll do it another time. So I was so glad that I did not go through that whole thing for nothing.
So someone was watching over you for your H4 debacle. Good for you.
So when you say banded, this is when you, in certain group rides, as long as you keep pedaling, you will stay with the group, no matter what output you're doing, correct?
Correct. And it kind of can still stretch out a little bit, but mostly people stay together.
Okay. And so that is what happens. So not much of a test when, everybody is on the same time.
Sure. So people's power would be accurate, but their times would be off. And then you'd have to take longer than it would be or slower. So yeah, it was all messed up.
So have you had an opportunity to speak to any of the other finalists? I know like last year, it seemed like all of the riders were from either Europe or Australia. There seems to be a pretty decent mix. Have you spoken to any other girls at all who you're going to be spending a week in the house with?
Yeah, I've talked to Elena Wuyan a couple times. I hadn't really talked to her prior to this, but I've raced with Kristen Klaczynski and talked to Josh Lipka a little bit, and she's on the 2024 team with him. So they told me about that, and she reached out, so we chatted a little bit. I've also raced with Chiara Dani a few times, and I've talked to her director, actually. I forget what his name is, but the Team Italy director. He messaged me on Facebook to say congratulations, and I haven't talked to her directly, but talked to him some, and I have no idea who the other two are. I've never seen them on Zwift ever, so we'll see what that's like.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like I spoke about being a conspiracy theorist. It's hard for me to kind of separate the marketing op from the rider opportunity in this whole thing, and it's kind of like that's an interesting thing to think about. But let's not think about that. We mentioned being in the house for 5 days, and it's at its essence, it's really a reality show. So like, has anyone come to your house to do any background with you? And then, what's your feeling about the whole reality show dynamic once you get to Spain?
Yeah, they said they were going to send someone from GC into my house this week to video, like riding on Zwift and outside, but I have yet to hear back again about that. We are not honestly getting many details about anything involving this whole process, which is also slightly unnerving. And then as far as when we're there, yeah, I would say I want to go there to ride my bike, to have an incredible experience and see what I can do. The cameras in my face are not my favorite thing. That's not something that I'm looking forward to at all. So my goal is just to avoid the camera as much as possible. We'll see how successful I am with that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure you're going to be able to, I watched all the episodes again this morning, actually, when I was doing some long zone 2 ride. They got the rider of the day. They have your field tests out there for everybody to see. You're living together. They're doing eliminations. They're like, I think in one of the episodes, I wanted to throw my remote at the screen because they have to do in a 4-hour training ride. Then they sprung like a hill climb time trial on everybody. Like, it's kind of like a made for TV type of thing, you know what I mean? And it puts a tremendous burden on you, on the athletes,
Yeah, it definitely does. I had a few clear cam races with the Sarah Snowpins Riot Girls. She is teammates with a few people that have done the Zwift Academy Finalists in the past, and so they reached out and gave me some tips. And basically, it was be yourself, try to avoid the drama, and don't get on the camera all the time.
And when do you go to Spain?
My husband's actually going with me, so we are going to go out a week early to hopefully get over jet lag and have some time to ourselves. So we fly out Sunday, together, and then I have to be at the house that Friday, and then challenges start Monday. So it's Monday through Friday that following week are when the challenges are.
And where in Spain is it?
Denia, near Valencia. I don't know my Spanish geography, but in the past it's been on Mallorca, but it's on mainland Spain, somewhere near the coast this year.
So what discussions have happened in-house about if this happens?
A lot, and I kind of think that it took a lot for me to get to this point to even be okay with going there, and I think I feel better that Ryan's coming with me, that I have his support, and if anything were to happen that I don't like, I can just leave and have someone to go and be with. But I also think I'm kind of going in with the assumption they're not going to pick the 32-year-old with 2 kids to be a pro, which is maybe a bad assumption, but I have to be realistic about what I can do. So I also need to just see what their expectations are and communicate. And I would imagine they would have to let you know like what that is prior to all of this. They can't just say sign this and then you sign your life away, you know. So I yeah, it's been a lot, and I can't say that it's my biggest ambition ever to go be a road pro at this point in my career. If I were 15 years younger, I would have loved this, or 10 years younger. But it was too good of an opportunity to pass up, and I just want to kind of see what happens.
Is there on that front, is like, let's say you're the best performing and you know every single box is ticked other than the reality as a father, professional racer that did that thing for a long time, I get it, and the reality of trying to be a part of Pro Peloton, which is mainly European, it's just not a reality in a lot of ways for Americans. There isn't a lot of racing that you can represent your pro team with on the North American continent, which makes things really difficult then to play that role. If there is will you seek a compromise? If they are willing to compromise, I mean, are you planning for that? You know what I mean? Are you like, well, maybe, or is it kind of like, nah? Is there a little bit of something that's like, well, there could be something here still inside of you?
Yeah, I mean, I still have that fire. I still want it. And I don't want to go knowing that I'm taking that opportunity away from someone else too, because that just makes me feel awful. But I know I can't go live in Europe and race full time. That's not, honestly, I don't think that's ever what I really wanted. I didn't love road racing enough to want that kind of lifestyle. But yeah, I would love if there could actually be a compromise and I could get something out of it and do stuff here, race on Zwift still. Like I still want it. I still have a huge passion for it.
I think last thing on that, from my perspective, that's a really cool story anyways. I mean, to be reality, like there's 2 different things happening here, right, for Zwift. One of them is it's a great discovery platform, right? And that's and it's an opportunity, provides opportunity. And it's also a marketing tool that we just have to be honest, right? And so what better marketing tool than your mother too, who can go do something that looks like pro racing, right, off of the Zwift Academy and the discovery of that. I mean, and of course the pro team that you would be riding for wants to get something out of it too. But we see all these situations like EF has riders doing what looks like a privateer program at this point sometimes. You know what I mean? Like and getting representation still out there for the name of that team. And we see a lot of these pro teams throwing people into gravel races and whatever it might be, where it doesn't seem like it's a part of that Pro Peloton UCI system quite as much anymore. And so I just hope, and from my perspective, that if you are the strongest rider, there's an opportunity still there for you to show off what has been discovered through the Zwift Academy. And it isn't just this more traditional thing that doesn't fit a box, because I'm not sure that this whole Zwift Academy thing fits that box anyways. So anyways, I just really wanted to know about that, because that is a tension that it creates naturally.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I don't like pressure, and so I think I'm hoping that because I don't have this burning desire to go race full time in Europe, and I have to win this contract, that it'll help me relax and enjoy this experience more. And then anything that comes out of it, anything they'll let me, if I win, anything they'll let me do is just icing on the cake, and hopefully that can be an inspiring story for other people, that there's not one way track that you have to follow to have crazy cool things happen and achieve lifelong dreams.
You know, when you had written that article about the cross nats, and it was kind of the theme of it was finding a balance between outdoors and indoors. So now you're at the doing the Zwift Academy and things, and there's the Esports World Championships are coming up, right? Is that still a priority for you? You know, you came in 5th last year. You know, you had a great showing. That's something that's attainable. Also, you could be a world champion, right?
Yeah.
So like the dates don't jive, right? Because the qualifiers are on November 12th. You're going to be there. Is there going to be a chance for an exception? Like what has that been spoken about at all?
Yeah, I asked the Zwift Academy people when they told me the dates about that, and they talked to USA Cycling. So I'm going to have to petition my way onto the team, or if last year they had like a race on RGT that you could qualify in on a different date. So I'm hoping that I can get on in some manner, because I am going to miss qualifiers. And that's been since Worlds last year, that's been basically my only goal, is to get back and win a world championship. And they announced the format a couple months ago, and that was super motivating, because it seemed like something that I could legitimately win. So that is definitely still a huge goal of mine, and I hope I can get there.
You know, it's interesting because we've had a couple of the top level e-racers as guests, and last month we had Lionel Vujasin, and he says that's all he lives and breathes, is being a world champion. You know, it's and I think it's great, because you know, if you would have asked anybody who races on Zwift, 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, what's the World Championships and what does it mean to you? And they would say, I don't even know what you're talking about, So there's been a huge evolution there in in esports as a whole, and I think it's great.
Yeah, it's cool that we get a World Championship opportunity too. I mean, and it's Zwifters that can win it. It's not necessarily the World Tour racers that are winning every year, which is cool.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Well, we are all going to be rooting for you as you go on this next adventure. I was watching the reality show this morning on YouTube that Chris had sent us all, and I was like, wow, this does look like a lot of fun. I will say that I thought making those women ride up that hill at the end of a 4-hour ride in a fixed gear, they took the batteries out of all of their Di2. That was kind of
I'm all about that. I feel like I'd be good at that.
Okay,
challenge,
well,
so I
hopefully, yeah, maybe
We'll,
maybe we'll publish this after that.
I think you'd be good at any of them. The thing that I didn't like was that they had one of the DSs from the team like leading the girls out, and I'm like, I hope Liz just like toasts that dude. Like when that guy goes to pace him, I hope that she just like rides away from him.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's kind of like a slap in the face.
If it's been a 4-hour ride and we're having to do a 15-minute climb, not really my forte. So we'll see about that.
Very nice. Well, we're very excited for you, and we're going to be wishing you luck. And thanks for joining us today. And I think Chris has a Dirt Dad Fund update for us that he wanted to share.
Well, I just wanted to say one other thing, that in the eloquent words of Dave Toll, I'm a huge fan of everything that Liz Houweling is about, and especially that she's a member of the Zwift Communique family. Thanks a lot. I thought that was great in the broadcast last week. But yeah, so the Dirt Dad Fund, like everyone knows, that the reason why I do all this stuff is to raise awareness of the Dirt Dad Fund. And we created an online store that was in partnership with Pedal Industries. And I spoke to the CEO last week, and he said that if you're interested in getting any Dirt Dad Fun merchandise from the pedal industry store, you have until November 10th if you want to get it before Christmas. So if you're interested, get your orders in now and you'll get it in time for the big day. And I really appreciate the support from everybody. And I appreciate everything that the Virtual Velo Podcast does to promote the Dirt Dad Fund as well.
Well, thanks for all you do, Chris.
Aw.
Thank you, everybody, for joining the Virtual Velo Podcast, and especially to Liz. We're going to be keeping an eye on everything that happens, and we hope that you will all join us again for our next episode, which will be back soon.